of hopefully what we're going to cover this morning, and I hope it's as helpful to you as it has been to me. That being said, Ephesians chapter 5, we're going to jump back to verse 15 and start reading in verse 15 just so we keep this in context. I think one of the biggest challenges when you start to look at this passage is it's always taken out of the context in which it's written. Ephesians 5:15. See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but wise. This is that beginning section where we're supposed to have the wise walk. And that's where you have to remember, Matt, you have to remember this is all about how you walk. And it started out with the humble walk, and it just continues on with the walk, with the walk, with the walk. When it gets to this place where we're supposed to walk wise. We're supposed to be wise people. And the beginning of that wise walk is circumspectly, attentive, paying attention, involved, included, not just letting life flow by. Sometimes we get this picture of the Christian as just a boat on the sea to being tossed around, but that's not true. We are driven. We have a place. We have a plan. There's something we're supposed to do, go, accomplish. We're not just floating along on time. We're supposed to be involved. And the second thing it said was redeeming the time. We need to use the time that's given to us because the days are evil. Wherefore, be not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. He has a plan, and Rob, we're supposed to know it. We're supposed to know what he wants us to do, and he's given us two things to help us accomplish that. Here's one, and the Spirit that seals and lives within us is the other. And he's about to bring that right into play in verse 18, and this is the section we've been on for, 5-6 weeks. And truthfully, everything we're going to do, Brother Hamilton, everything we're going to look at for the next 5 or 6 weeks, they all go back to this verse. You cannot take this verse out of it. You see, we have the wise walk. Here's the wise walk. The wise walk looks like these 4 things. It's going to be the wise walk is, it's an involved walk. It's circumspectly. The wise walk is redeeming your time. The wise walk is knowing what the will of the Lord is. Well, guess what that is? That's for us to be full of the Spirit. And that's going to bring about these things. Being full of the Spirit brings about, and that's where we've been. So, verse 18, something I want you to pay attention to. I want you to be like Brother Mike and pay attention to where this sentence starts and stops. That's crucial when you start to get into some of the arguments that come from this passage. Verse 18, and be not drunk with wine, no period. Wherein is excess, no period. But be filled with the Spirit, still no period. Speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, no period. Singing and making melody in your hearts to the Lord, still no period. Giving thanks always for all things unto God and the Father in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Still no period. Verse 21, submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of God, period. Matt, you know what that tells us? That tells us from verse 18 to 21, it's all one thought. We don't get to stop at 20 and make 21 the next section. All of this goes together, okay? Filled with the Spirit, it solves our relationship with ourselves. Matt, no more guilt, no more struggle. You don't have to live in depression and pain, because when we're filled with the Spirit and we're walking in his way and we're being led and blown and enabled, when all those things are there, we have right relationship with ourselves. And that shows itself in singing and making melody in our heart. It's a change. We're right here. And then we give thanks to the Lord. There's a submission. There's a trust. That shows a relationship fix here. And now it's got to fix the relationship here. And to fix the relationship here, verse 21 tells us there's going to be some submission required. So, ready? 70, we need to just start all practicing submission. And that's what happens when we pull this out of context. You need to work really hard and struggle really hard to be in submission. Well, you know what that's going to make me feel like? That's going to make me resentful. That's going to make me unfulfilled. That might even make me angry. Because I'm doing it in the flesh and it's not going to accomplish anything. Verse 21, just like verse 20, just like verse 19, is a product of being full of his Spirit. Now that makes it different. Because now in my submission, I am not expecting something from Brother Wayne. It's not Brother Wayne's response. This is not the blessing. Here's the blessing. So even if he decides to be the biggest jerk in the whole wide world, not that you do, my blessing wasn't dependent upon his response. My blessing was dependent upon yielding to where that wind was blowing. submitting. Now you know why this has been a struggle for 3 weeks. I don't know if there's a bigger time bomb word in our time. Submission just does not fit in with the time we live. Submission deals with authority. It deals with preferring another. It deals with placing myself under another. It deals with trusting and being dependent on another. It deals with value, or when misused, the absence of value. And that has been a problem for hundreds of years. It deals with daily sacrifice. But the importance of submission can't be denied either. Bruch, submission is the only way to have biblical unity. Do we need to go back and spend 4 weeks talking about how important that is? We are the body. We are the only church. We are the only Christ the world gets to see, and that is seen in our unity, in our love one towards another. Well, this world is so bad. Well, maybe the problem is the church that they're seeing, the Christ that we're representing. Submission is the only way to have right relationships. Submission is a right relationship for here. Submission is a right relationship for here. And submission is a right relationship for here. Absent submission, there's fighting all the time. There's fighting and turmoil, and we're probably going to go to Galatians 5 in a few minutes, and there's that whole list is how we live if there's absent submission. Justin, here's the question. I'm asking you because I know I'm going to get the right answer. Ready? Is the Bible instruction for our good? Okay, well, the Bible says we're supposed to submit. But it also says that this submission starts with being full of the Spirit. Almost every sermon you hear from this passage begins in verse 22. It doesn't begin in verse 22. In fact, there's a period at the end of 21. Let's see. I'm trying. No, we'll do that later. I don't know if there is a word that's been used to cause more harm than the word submission. If you go back over time, the church or the false church or the messed up church has used this word for literally 1,000 years to demean, to take away value, to have control. Justin, it's opposed to everything God has done and dealt with man. He has always given man the respect to have choice. And then we try to take away choice by using this word submission. It has caused problems by governments. Governments have overused this word submission. And husbands have overused this word submission. And fathers have overused this word submission. And employers have overused this word submission. And you know what it causes in every time it is misused, misapplied, or over-applied, Ms. Paddock causes the same thing, and that is rebellion. It has been used to justify domination. It has been used to power over. In fact, if we're not careful, we'll jump right to that too. I'm a boss. You do it because, you want to know how many places it says we're not supposed to be like the Gentiles and lord over them? That's not what our authority is supposed to look like. If I said this, Justin, again, give me the right answer. If I said the great picture of how to use our authority would be Christ, would you agree with that? It would, right? But you know he didn't lord over. There would have been no crucifixion if he lorded over. He could have changed the whole thing. Choice after choice after choice after choice. He gave people the choice to reject him. In fact, we'll close if I hurry up and get to a place where he's the perfect picture. Men are tempted to lord over, and women are tempted to rebel and usurp. This goes all the way back to Genesis 3. And I will tell you, I'm not so certain that women's temptation to rebel and usurp has more to do with the fact that men are trying to lord over. So we live in a time that's full of gay rights, children's rights, employee rights, women's rights, gender rights. Everything is about rights, which means me, control, my way. It is the total absence of submission, and our society has never been more frictional and ready to fight, and at the drop of a hat, violent. The absence of submission has created a mess. We're even rebelling with this new gender bending. We're even rebelling against creation. Everything is just full of rebellion. That's why you have to go back to verse 18, because Brother Bill, this only works in the Spirit. You see, this is how it would work. Let's do it this way. Brother Wayne, if you are living in the Spirit and preferring Miss Cammie, preferring means putting first. That means if what you want and the decisions you're making in your life are for the best interest of Tammy, it's never, well, I need to get mine, and I need to have my time, and I need to spend my money, and I need to have my thing. No, if your decisions are in the best interest of Tammy, and Tammy's interests are in the best interest of Wayne, then that works. In fact, your only discourse and problem is going to be, no, I want you to have your, no, I want you to have, no, I want you, no, I like China, no, I know you like Chinese, no, I know you like Italian. Whew, tough fights. Okay, you cannot fight. But the minute you only care about Tammy and Tammy only cares about Tammy, well, sooner or later you feel sucked dried. There's nothing filling you back up. You're empty as can be. And that's the problem. Filled with the Spirit, I prefer you. Filled with the Spirit, you prefer me. Let's sit in the circle and sing Kumbaya. But the minute selfishness boils up in there, it's this big roadblock. Ben, ready? It's going to be tough to understand. If you only care about Casey, and your decisions are made in the best interest of Casey, you know how easy it is for her to follow your decisions? That makes it pretty simple, doesn't it? But if Ben only cares about Ben, I don't think it did. It's just probably like 3 pages. Turn back to Galatians chapter 5. Verse 13. For brethren, ye have been called unto liberty, only use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh. Really, let me just make this quick. Matt, that says, Matt, don't be selfish. Matt, you've been given liberty, but liberty is not all about please Matt. That's what it says. Okay? For an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another. You want to start talking about, well, you're talking about you're preferring one another, but Jeremy, you're talking about love. That's not submission. That's not underneath. You're stretching that term. By love, serve. Be a servant too. That's what it looks like. For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. But if you bite and devour one another, take heed that you be not consumed of one another. Let me tell you, if you're not willing to serve, this is what's going to happen. Bite and devour one another. As great as Stephanie is, and in the home that she's grown up in, and the mind that she says, let her feel taken advantage of again and again and again, day after day after day. And pretty soon she's going to wonder, is she just gullible? At some point, I got to stand up for myself. I got to stand up for the kids. You guys start to see the time we live in? Why does everybody have to have their own rights? Because nobody feels cared for. This I say then, walk in the Spirit. You know what his answer to this selfish problem was? Justin, look at his surprising answer to the selfish problem. Walk in the Spirit, you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. You know what that lust of the flesh was? It's that selfishness. It's I got to do mine. I got to take care of me. Let me tell you, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You will be alone. No one wants to follow the man who's taking care of me. Not as a boss, not as a father, not as a dad, nowhere. For the flesh lusts against the spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary one to another, so that you cannot do the things you would. But if you're led by the Spirit, you're not under the law. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanliness, lasciviousness. Let me tell you, husband, you got a problem with pornography. Don't you ever think it's going to be easy for that woman to follow you. She will follow the person who's living in the Spirit. Idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulation, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, full of deception and pride. You know what? If you want to try to get somebody to follow you like that, the only way you can do it is power over. That's the only way you're going to get someone to follow you full of the flesh. But the fruit of the Spirit, and I'm jumping down here, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law, and who wouldn't want to follow that person? In the Spirit, we are to prefer, we are to choose, we are to love the other. That's what submission looks like. Now, Brother Jeremy, okay, what does it actually look like? We'll go to Philippians chapter 2. I got 15 minutes. I got to go through a whole bunch of verses. Philippians chapter 2, verse 5. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God. Very important, we're right here. Brother Bill, is Christ equal with the Father? Is the Son equal with the Father? Is he part of the Trinity? Is the Trinity co-equal? Okay, they are the same. They have the same value. And one of the things we'll see soon when we start to look at the home, when we get into those verses, Donnie, you and your wife, you have the same value. You're not greater. You're not smarter. You have the same value. The Son is not weaker than the Father. Nor is he so dumb that he doesn't know it. He knows he's equal. Who being in the form of God thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation. He took a choice and took upon himself the form of a servant. So what does submission look like? It looks like surrender. It looks like servanthood. And being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself. Brother Bill, this leadership is not this kind of leadership. I the man. I the boss. I the leader. It's not that kind of leader. He's a leader because he humbled himself. He's a leader because he was a servant. That's why people wanted to be around him. That's why they wanted to follow him. Bro, when I was coaching football, here's the thing. Every one of those kids thought they knew more than me. You stood over on the side and you heard them when they were coming off the field drinking water. You know the truth. They all thought they knew more than me. They all thought they should be the star. They all thought they were being mistreated and they should touch the ball every single time. Now, you know, the only way you can get that group of kids to follow you so that they can come together, so they can actually win something, is to convince each one of them that I have their best interest at heart. Now, Brooch, as soon as I pull that off, they'll do anything I ask them to. Even be quiet when they're mad at the ref. Even do their homework. Even study for the test. Even let the other guy carry the ball. See, but they don't do that because I'm the coach. Because if I'm the coach, they'll just argue and yell and complain. And some of them will get to the point that they're so stubborn, I'm not going to be lorded over. They'll quit. Well, it's not about me. I already know I'm no more than them. It's about trying to help them. Now, if you can get that across, Brother Bill, then you got leadership. Then you'll have fellowship. Servant's heart. And being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient, even to death, the death of the cross. Wherefore God hath highly exalted him and given him a name that is above every name. He had to humble himself. He was equal, but he submitted. Well, my time is just as important as Justin's time. My problems are just as big as Justin's problems. My needs are just as big as Justin's needs. Yes, yes, and yes. But will I humble myself to make Justin more important than me? That's what I have to do every time I study. Mr. Eva, you think I don't have something else I'd rather do? There's always a list of things I could be doing. Sometimes they're fun, sometimes... No, it's choosing to put other people above you. With our time, with our money, with our thoughts, with our effort. Oh, okay, I can do this. Miss Lorraine, I'm a father today. I'm so thankful I'm a father. I'm very thankful for the boys. I think I've been blessed in the boys, probably because Mom raised them. But I can tell you one of the things is my father was very aggressive. My father was thumb over. Let's see. Matt, the first time my dad and I got into a fight, I was probably 12 years old. I picked him up, put him on the gas stove, held him there. Heard that little burner going click, 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 click. You know what that is, right? That's the igniter. You know when I let go of him? When the gas blew up and all that, fire was all over him. Because it burnt my eyebrows and my hair, and me too. I mean, that thing was very rough. And I thought I was doing what he wanted me to. Why? Because he told me. My dad taught me to take nothing from no one, to stand up for yourself. Let me tell you who you are. You can whip any 5 of these kids. Don't you let any of those kids. I mean, that's how I was raised. But see, Justin, I'm going to church, and so I'm going to church, and I'm hearing this guy talk about it's a mission, it's a mission, it's a mission. And it came to a point where I had to decide, am I going to submit, or am I going to go get a big enough stick? Literally. So how can you get to this place where you're willing to submit? Where does this authority come from? Who built the home? Who ordained government? Who ordained the church? Who set in motion that you have to work in the employer and the employee? All of this was ordained by God. Brother Hank, what does he tell us if you got a problem with the king? If you got a problem with the king, rebel. Well, we like to brag about that. That's like the American way, right? But if you got a problem with the king, what does he tell us? The king is in whose hand? So if you got a problem with the king, where do you take it? If you have a problem with the government, where do you take it? Well, who ordained the government? If you have a problem with dad, where do you take it? Oof, let me tell you, that's a big step. That's a big step of trust. That's almost like a full step of I'm not going to do it my way, live in the flesh. I'm going to trust in the Spirit. If you have a problem with the husband, where do you take it? Well, Brother Jeremy, does it get so bad that you just have to take everything? Well, no, the disciples answered that question for us. There comes a time that we're going to obey God rather than men. There comes a time. But that time is not near as often as we make it. We, the group of people who just don't like that word submit. One of my dad's favorite sayings, Lorraine, I hate this. I've never said this to my boys. One of my dad's favorite sayings was, if you don't like it, you know what that says to me? That says, I really don't care about you. You know how hard it is to submit to some person who doesn't care about you? Now, you want to know what's really bad? I'm 54 years old. I've heard that statement in homes, at work, in churches. Furthermore, there is a point where we have to draw a line. Okay, well, that line's pretty simple. This is the way it's going to be here. You know, when it says in 1 John, it says they went out of us because they went out from us because they were not of us. Yeah, It wasn't, I didn't kick them out. You know why they left? Because they were uncomfortable. Go to John 15. Show me where the father kicked the prodigal out. Not only did he not kick him out, he didn't go chase him either. He gave him the respect of allowing him to make his decision. It's such a terrible thing to say, to ever say. I mean, that's why, here, you want to know the only piece of advice I give in my boys is there's one word you never say. Begins with a D. Don't ever say it. Don't ever look at your wife and say the word divorce. Don't ever look at your husband and say the word divorce. How in the world is he supposed to put you first when you're quitting on him? How is the world is she supposed to trust you and follow you when you're quitting? We get to this place of submission and we make it such a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with God's plan of submission. The problem with the plan is we won't submit and be full of his Spirit. Before we look at this other passage where it starts talking about the wife, the husband, the child, and the employer, be full of the Spirit. Realize we're supposed to prefer one another. I'm almost out of time, but I do want to do this. Let's get rid of that. There are 3 challenges. I really want to look at those challenges. Maybe we'll look at them as we go through, because this passage gets all messed up. We take it into, okay, where there's no real submission, or submission only means this, and we've got a couple weeks, maybe we will. But I do want to look at 4 characteristics of leadership or servanthood or humility. Call it whatever you want to, and that's going to come from John chapter 13. And we're going to look at this and just close, because I don't know that there's a greater picture. John chapter 13, beginning in verse 3. Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hand, and that he was come from God and went to God. Jesus knowing, he knew all things, riseth up from the supper, and laid aside his garment, and took a towel, and girded himself. After that, he poured water into a basin, and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel wherewith he was girded. Then cometh he to Simon Peter, and Peter saith unto him, Lord, dost thou wash my feet? Jesus answered and said unto him, What would thou knowest not now, but thou shalt know hereafter? Peter said unto him, you don't understand what I'm doing, but it'll make sense later. Peter said unto him, Thou shalt never wash my feet. Jesus answered him, If I wash thee not, thou hast no part with me. I just want you to pay attention right there. Notice he didn't say get out. He didn't say my way or the highway. That's firm. That's strong. That's not weak. But it is still caring about Peter. Peter, I want to love you. Peter, I want to serve you. Peter, if you're not going to let me love you, if you're not going to let me serve you, then you're not going to be part of me. You're not going to be part of the group. You're not going to be here. You're not going to be. You know what he doesn't say? Get out. Simon Peter saith unto him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. You know, that response might have been different if he said, get out. If he said, I don't care about you. Jesus saith unto him, He that is washed needeth not save to wash his feet, but is clean every whit, and ye are clean, but not all. You know what that says? There you go. Ben, this should be Gavin's favorite verse. Oh, I shouldn't have said that online. Because that says, once bathed, always bathed. Jesus saith unto him, He that is washed needeth not to save to wash his feet. That's all you need to clean your feet. But is clean every whit, and ye are clean, but not all. For he knew who should betray him. Therefore said he, Ye are not all clean. So after he had washed their feet, and taken his garments, and was set down again, he said unto them, Know ye what I have done to you? Ye call me Master and Lord, and ye say, Well, for so I am. If then your Lord and Master have washed your feet, ye ought also to wash one another's feet. For I have given to you an example that ye should do as I have done. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord, neither is he that is greater than he that sent him. If ye know these things, happy are ye if ye do them. Here you go. 4 characteristics of humility, of servanthood that I see right here. First, simple, and we got like 5 minutes. Brother Bruce, I see this. It's all unannounced. Now, if we would go back a little bit, like Luke 22 covers this passage well. You know what the disciples are doing just before they eat? They are fighting. They are fighting like only brothers can. They are fighting and arguing over who's the big brother, who's the most important, who's going to sit next to him, who's going to be on the throne, who's going to reign. We're going to Jerusalem. This is going to be the triumphal entry. We're about to throw Rome out. Who's going to reign with them? I'm more important than you are. That's what's going on just before this. Bill? He doesn't say, you fools. He doesn't confront, he doesn't bring them to the place of shame. You know, our response sometimes would be to stand up and do the whole, because of your pride, I will now demonstrate for you what true humility should look like. Thereby showing my self-righteousness, patting me on the back, and bringing you to shame. No, it's quiet. There's no announcement. Without even a word, Brother Bruce, without even a word. They're still doing whatever they're doing. Without even a word, he gets up, he gets a towel, he gets a basin, he pours some water, get this ready for me. He just gets up and does it. They don't even know what's going on until they start to hear the water splashing. Give me your foot. Get in here. Sometimes. Doug, sometimes I think, okay, my boys will be here, and Jade and Katie will be here sometimes, and you'll be here, and the preacher will be here, and there's all these people who are going to watch me, and so I need to do A, B, C, and D. But what would I do if nobody was here? What would I do if the only thing I had to do was go into a room with just me and some crotchety old guy with some nasty old feet, and all I did is constantly just wash these nasty old dirty feet where no one can see and no one pats me on the back? Would I then still do it? Well, that's humble servanthood. Looking forward to do exactly that. Justin, is that our goal? Filled with the Spirit, that would be a fine goal. Not filled with the Spirit, that just don't ring right. That seems kind of boring. Doesn't fulfill me. 2, I see this picture, you got to be willing to receive. You know, everybody picks on Peter, and he deserves it a little bit here. You're not going to wash mine. I picture it this way. I do picture things. That's how I see them. He probably washed John's first, and then he went to wash Peter. So Peter's like, not going to wash. I know John. John let you. John's weak, John, but not me. I mean, it just reeks. I'm better than the one you already took care of. I can do it myself. The false humility of protesting too much. The truth is, we're just not vulnerable. It's embarrassing to receive. It's embarrassing to be needy. Rob, we say on one hand, we're the most needy people. We can do nothing. And then I need nothing. Look at me. The false humility. We have to be willing to receive, which means we need to be open about our burdens. We need to be confessing our faults one to another. Then there's no pretense. 3, this servanthood is not a sign of weakness. I love this. When Peter pushes back, let me tell you, Brother Bill, that is a strong response. Peter pushes back, and he says, if I don't, you're not in the group. That's not weak. Being servanthood does not mean we're weak. Let me tell you, confrontation is not easy. But you will bring peace to no one's life unless you confront the sin that is there. It is doing it in a mind that brings out that old adage, no one cares what you know until they know that you care. Humility uses its strengths. It shares its gifts because we have gifts with other people. And it also doesn't play favorites. Do you notice in there he washed the feet of Judas? Just a couple hours, Judas is going to betray him with a kiss, and he knows it. I can tell you right now, it'd be me. Okay, if I did it, it'd be like, give me some scalding water for this one. I squeeze that toe till it turns black. It was not about performance. It's not that they deserved it. He didn't just take care of the good ones. One more thing. Verses 13 through 15. You call me Master and Lord, and you say, well, for so I am. That's not that whole, I'm a nobody. No, I am exactly who I am. And you do a good thing when you realize who I am. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet. This does not say what we would expect it to say. Brother Bill, we know what it says. But this is what we would expect it to say. If I've washed your feet, you should wash mine. That's not what it says. It doesn't say this is quid pro quo. This is not trading. This is preferring others. Since I've preferred you, I want you to do the same thing and prefer others. And when you do, for I have given you an example that you should do as I have done. Verily, verily, I say to you, the servant is not greater than his Lord, neither is he that is sent greater than he that sent him. If you know these things, happy are ye when you do them. Blessed are ye when you do them. Your life will be full. Rob, there is blessing. There is fulfillment in submission. We want to hold on. We want to struggle. I want to be in control. I want to make it happen my way. It will always be empty. Happy are ye when you do them, when we submit and care about others. So the question is, will we pick up the towel? Will we kneel down with the bowl? And when are we going to start washing and taking care of other people? Picture of servanthood, people of submission. Billy, close in a word of prayer, please.